All right, we've got three goals for this lesson right here. The three goals are written there. We're dealing with rational numbers, fractions, and decimals. So the goal would be, or our three goals actually, are I know that all real numbers can be written as decimals. I can convert rational numbers into decimals and decimals into rational numbers. And then I know how to divide a numerator by a denominator in order to result in a decimal. And I'll tell you right now, these two are very similar. We're going to go both ways, though, for that second goal. And the first goal is actually right here in green. Boom. All real numbers can be written as fractions and decimals. That's something worth writing down. That's something worth knowing. It doesn't matter what it is, but you can write it as a fraction. So, let's take a look at a couple examples of just a rational number, and we want to write it as a decimal. So let's look at the first one here. We have the number 6. No, that's actually, yeah, we'll leave them out there. The number 6. Number 6 is right now, it's as a, um, just a whole number. Now, first of all, you could write that as a decimal, sorry, as a fraction. As a fraction, it would be 6 over 1. So you can divide anything by 1 and it doesn't change it. So 6 over 1 is the same thing as 6. Um, but we're focusing on going to a decimal. So 6 as a decimal is simply 6 point. Is there anything other than 6? No, so it's 6.0. All right, anything that's a whole number, just put it's 6.0, 6 and 0 tenths. Um, the next one would be 5/8. Let's try changing that to a decimal. How do you change a fraction to a decimal? Well, it's this goal right here. Divide the numerator by the denominator. So 5/8 is really 5 divided by 8. And I'm going to do some long division here, but 8 doesn't go into 5. So we got to make that into a decimal and add some zeros until it just depends on how many we need. I'll do 4 for right now, see if that's how many we need. Um, so 8 doesn't go into 5 at all, so we're going to put 0 right there. Put a point. Now look at 50. How many times does 8 go into 50? Well, I think I can think of 6. So 6 times 8 is 48. And that leaves us with 2. Carry down the next 0. 8 goes into 20 twice. 16. 2 times, because 2 times 8 is 16, so we have 4 here. Bring down the next 0 is 40. 8 goes into 45 times, and actually, that's actually going to be a perfect one. That's 40. So we're done. We don't need this last 0 anymore, because that'll just be a 0 after that. So that is how you change a fraction to a decimal. Just divide it out. So you have 0.625. And I'll give you a little tip here, an easier way. Take a calculator, do 5 divided by 8. And I got 0.625. So there you go. Let's try it with 1/3. This is going to be a little bit different one, but 1/3. I'm going to write it out like this. 1 divided by 3. And I'm going to extend this to 1.00. We'll do 3 again. Alright, 3 does not go into 1 at all, so that's 0. Carry that 0. So 3 goes into 10 3 times. That's 9. Subtract the 1. 9, we got 1. Bring down the next 0. Well, we've got 10 again. 3 goes into 10 3 times. 9. Got 1 left again. Bring down the 0. We got 0 again. And this is actually going to keep going like this over and over and over again. So this is a repeating decimal. So it'd be the 3's are just repeating. So that's a good way to check that. Otherwise, you can take your calculator and do 1 divided by 3. 1 divided by 3, so 1/3 is a good one to have memorized. 0.33 repeating. 2/3 would be 0.667 or 66 repeating. A lot of people would reduce it to 0.67. But that's the basic way of how you go from a fraction to a decimal. Now let's go backwards. And I want to remind you, we're going to go decimals to fractions now, but let's just remind you the place values of decimals. And again, they would go farther right and left than here. But if the decimal point is right here, to the left of that there's the ones place, the tens place, the hundreds place, the thousands place. There would be the 10,000s, the 100,000s, the millions place. Those go on forever. You learned those a long time ago. On the right side of it, we have the tenths place. So that would be to tenths. Then we have the hundredths place, the thousandths place, 10,000ths place, and so forth. So if we look at 4.2, we have 4, that's in the ones place. We have 4, so we're going to try to change this to a fraction. So we have 4, and we just have one decimal, so it's tenths, so we're going to make it out of 10. And there's 2 of them, 4 and 2 tenths. Alright, that's how you change it to a fraction. Now technically this can be reduced farther. It'd be 4 and 1/5. And the reason for that is 2 tenths. If you reduce 2 tenths, and I'll show it up here, you can divide both the top and the bottom. There's a factor you can take out of it. So you can divide them both by 2. And you end up getting 1. So you divide it by 2. And also divide this one by 2. And that would be 5. So that's where we get the 1/5. And one more example. Let's do this decimal. Looks like it could be a repeating decimal, but I just did 0.33. So we have nothing in front of the decimal. So let's look behind the decimal. So we have 0 and tenths place, hundredths place. So we're going to make it out of 100. And that would be 33 out of 100. And that, if it can be reduced, it can be reduced, but this one cannot. So it would be 33 out of 100. If you had one that was, let's just say one more example, for let's just do 0.460. Do you need the 0 there? You don't, because I'll show you why. Now technically this is the tenths, hundredths, thousandths place, so we're going to make it out of 1,000. And 460 over 1,000, oops, 460 over 1,000, the zeros cancel each other out. So really it's the same thing as 41, or 46 hundredths. And actually, that can be reduced even farther. I think you can divide them both by 2. Divided by 2, divided by 2, pull that out of there, you get 50 on the bottom, and 23 on the top, and that's a nice clean fraction there. So 2300. So that, or 23/50ths. So that is how you go from a fraction, or sorry, decimal to a fraction. And we already did fractions to decimals, or just regular whole numbers to decimals. So that's our lesson. That's covering those goals. We know that all real numbers, it says it right here, we know that all real numbers can be written as fractions and decimals. We just showed it for 6 examples. And we can convert from rational numbers, or fractions, to their decimals, and from decimals to their fractions. All right, that's the lesson.